Hi. Yeah.
Hey, John. Hi, Jon
Yeah,
Jon.
he is.
You give us a
He's a cute
smile?
boy. Hi. Hi.
Parents and families are really in for a roller coaster ride when these kids are diagnosed. Autism's an incredibly treatable disorder, but the treatment is driven by parents' ability to advocate and know what their children need, which to me is almost bizarre. If you had cancer, someone would send you to an oncologist immediately.
Jon Jon, what's that you got on? Your new bathrobe?
Nice.
Bless you. Looks so cute.
When your child's diagnosed with autism, you're given some information about what it is, and then you're left, you're left to your own devices, really.
Hi, John. Hi. Yeah. How about Goo?
John met all of the APGAR stuff when he was born. He was very bright looking, very articulate, looked us in the eye, got up and walked, or actually he got up and ran at 9 months
Hi,
old.
John. He's coming towards the camera. We're going to have to stop, John. You're getting too close.
We thought John was going to be a superstar.
His early developmental milestones were not only on time, they were early. He walked when he was 9 months old. And he was a very active kid.
What are you doing? John, are you supposed to be standing up?
Jon Jon, this is a little bit beyond your range.
He had a lot of hyperactivity, and it was very difficult for us to get him to focus on anything, and his language wasn't developing.
Hi, John. Thank you. Good boy. Very good. John.
John. Hey, John.
John. John. John.
John, say hi. John. Hi. Say hi to Daddy.
And he stopped looking at us. He cried uncontrollably. We couldn't stop him from crying. They gave us every reason in the world to think John was perfectly normal when we knew something was very different about John. Finally, I went to a specialist at the University of Massachusetts Medical School.
And they diagnosed him with pervasive developmental disorder, which is autism. They told us that he would never learn to talk. And they really weren't able to tell us much more about how he would develop or what his potential was, or if he had much potential. And
so that was just devastating news for us. We shifted gears and tried to figure out what to do next. And that led to months of dead ends in getting him the services he needed.
Jon.
He was brought to a school because an early intervention sort of program, but their early intervention was sit him in a classroom in a Rifkin chair where he was literally tied down into a seat for hours a day. Well, that lasted about a week, and we got him out of there because that was. And then we were told that they had never seen a kid like John in their previous 100 years of educating children in Grafton, Massachusetts, and they didn't know what to do.
Nice doing your puzzle quietly, John. Good boy.
At that moment, we met a person named Simone Burns, who is a guardian angel for John, and she was the one who came into our home and promised me that John would speak after having no language. And I was with her, and she worked with him using anything she could, M&Ms, any cookies, candy, whatever reward system she could get to get him to do one syllable at a time, then two. And I remember calling her up in tears when John said 2 words in a row.
I remember we would walk in the door and he would first run. And we'd have to go get him. And we'd have to haul him in here physically because he was kicking and screaming. And then initially we would put his butt on the chair. And as long as he left his butt on the chair for a second, we let him go, regardless of whether he was crying or not. And then he would, as soon as we'd let him go, he'd be happy as Larry. He'd just switch it on and switch it off. And then we'd say, okay, now, John, it's time to come back. And he'd flop and kick and scream. I don't recall him having any language.
Right.
I remember that we started working with sign with him when we first came in. And he was a little peanut. He was but just screamed and wailed. And some of the basic things that we started working on were him being able to say that he was finished. Finish my puzzle. I'm finished my puzzle. I'm good. Telling me. What do you want?
I want on the wagon.
Sure. There's the wagon. Nice asking me. I think the basic stuff that we worked on was like, oh, I'm all done. I need help. I want something. I remember he didn't have any understanding of receptive language. He wasn't able to identify things. And so we worked really systematically on getting him to identify things that were put in front of him.
Oh, nice looking.
Point to what you want, Jon Jon.
He pointed. I'm just
Good
waiting for him
boy.
to say it.
Now what do you say?
We did the plate.
Point in the point. Yeah.
Point to the point.
What do you want? What do you say?
What? I want more. Boy?
And then we got into some of the self-care programs. Because he wasn't dressing, we worked on dressing. We worked on the toileting.
Good job. Nice job.
Good job on the
job,
potty, John. No,
Jon
no,
Jon.
John, sit back there. Sit down. Yes, he did go to the potty.
Yeah, but
Jon Jon, say you're all done.
What did that?
Good job.
good job saying all
What
done.
the pet?
Yep, pull up your pants.
Pull up your pants.
I think we did work on eating. Also, as far as keeping his hands down, using his napkin, using a spoon, using a fork. We also worked on some play skills.
Your turn.
Cooperative play.
Go ahead, Liam. Liam, just one.
Just one, Liam. See, John knows. You're just supposed to play with one.
John, your turn.
Just see now. Did you see that, Liam? John was trying to do what you did.
It was probably 6 months, and then we started to see that all the language come out. And then as soon as he started using language, then it really blossomed.
Yay!
Yay, I'm finished.
John.
Now, Jon Jon, say, I'm finished.
Are we all done since he says that?
Okay, say, all done.
Pig.
Good job.
Look, say. Say, all done. Like that? Good.
Good
Yeah,
boy.
right, John. Now show us what's in your puzzle.
Good boy.
What's that?
Yay!
What's this?
Pig.
A pig. And what's this?
Cow.
Cow. And what's that?
Bird.
It's a bird. That's true. It's a bird. And what's this?
One. Chicken.
Yeah, and what's that?
Water.
Water. And what's that? What's that?
Hat.
Where's the hat? That's right. There's another hat.
Yeah.
Good boy.
Kind of a hat on the bird.
And where's her shoe?
Yeah.
Where's her shoes? Where's the little birdie? Where's the other birdie? Is there another birdie? Where's another birdie? What's that?
He started to be able to communicate, but the verbal language was slow in coming. And then he took off. He was one of the first children. We had not been involved with early intervention kids at that point in time, so he was one of the first young children that we started working with. He was one of our model children as far as once he got the idea that he could learn things and he could demonstrate that he knew things, then I think that he just took off.
You want to make, you just can't wait. Wait a minute.
And we didn't know what to expect.
It was very difficult.
Try it again.
And we were, looking to see if John could actively participate in the school setting like other kids. You see, in this tape, BJ is working on the floor with him, and now they call that floor time. She was down in his face and working with him very directly.
Listening. Good job.
The school system hired home consultants from the May to go into the school and train their staff and then come to our house and train us.
Look at Daddy.
So there was a cohesiveness that is so important to any child with a diagnosis of autism, that early on we were breaking ground, at least in the town of Dennis, I think.
This is them in, it looks like circle time, group circle. And you can see the typical kids are, mostly the girls here, are responding. And John is just sitting, staring blankly. He has this real autistic stare. And he's not doing anything.
John, don't blow him out.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Wait.
Happy birthday, dear Jon Jon. Happy birthday to
John Carroll,
you.
no. John Carroll.
Okay, Jon Jon.
John Carroll, sit down.
Yay!
Whose
Whose
birthday is
birthday?
it? Whose birthday is it? It's Jon Jon's
Jon Jon's birthday.
No.
Jon Jon.
Tell Mommy it's spring. Go give Mommy the flower. Go get the flower.
Jon Jon. Do you like the flower?
Jon Jon, go give Mommy a flower. Say it's spring. Show it to Mommy.
What is it, Jon Jon? What is it, Jon Jon? Jon Jon, what is it? A rock. It's a shell. What kind of shell is it?
Don't hit it. No, John. Hey, Jon Jon. Give me. Jeez.
It's me, your host, Safari John again, and I was pretending to be a monkey. I was behind the trees pretending to be a monkey. Here we are on a train. I'm on a train right now, and we're in Whitman Station. That's on that side. On the bar.
John is doing the mushering right now, going through the woods.
I would never have imagined that he would be where he is today. I said, what is she, whacked? There's no way that this, and I was like, no way this boy can be driving. No, I know he's done really well, but driving?
Thank you. Thank you.
I have elementary algebra and foundations in writing. Well, throughout the semester, we're going to write stories about ourselves. I have to write a true story, approximately 200, approximately 200 words, 10 to 12 sentences.
Did you have any thoughts about what story you'll tell?
Yeah, about the last time I won gold medals in Special Olympics at Harvard University.
All right, well, I'm going to let you go now. Let me just keep rolling the camera while you get up and walk away. Bye.
Hi.
Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
Veterinary business management.
That's right, we got it all ready for you moving.
Oh, this is a nice mattress. I think that's nice. Yeah, this one feels good.
How's it feel?
Doesn't feel bad.
Well, could you see yourself living here someday?
Yes.
You know, I think the biggest thing was the collaboration. The teachers made a huge difference. That everybody being, you know, on board and willing to look at him as an individual. But really, I think for John back then, it really was based on the fact that he had really good teachers in the preschool and that they really worked hard with that transition from each one teacher to the next. I think that really helped in that people were willing to be flexible as far as, you know, what his needs were, making sure that his program wasn't just about his academic needs. The self-care was continued to be worked on within the school environment, so they really looked at him as a whole, which is not usual when you're, you know, talking about a public school system. And I think that the team was really good about defining his education as incorporating all of those important areas for him. The beginning piece was that the school was amenable to provide the support service, the additional support services. When we first started working with him, he really wasn't an observational learner. So when you typically put a child into a preschool situation, they need to be able to learn through observation in order to be successful, and he didn't have that skill. I mean, he would barely look at you, never mind, looking at people in his environment or looking at what's going on in his environment. So I think by giving him that, that extra intensive services earlier on, I think that was really important for his success. In order for him to do it on a daily basis, you were the ones that were required to get him to do it. And that's the really nice thing about it, having a home-based component to education at that early stage. The fact that you were able to observe what he was learning and see some of those nuances that happen when you're trying to teach a child who has special needs. I think that's definitely very important. And being able to take care of himself and dress himself, and obviously as he learned those skills, then he had less time to be engaging in some of those other behaviors that might not be as pretty as some of
All ages of
yeah.
life.
As soon as he started learning the positive behaviors, then some of those negative behaviors decreased automatically without really doing anything else. As they say, busy hands are happy hands. John's transition from elementary to middle school, I think, was successful because he had the same aid. That really helped as far as having knowledge of him. And the middle school wasn't that big, but even though he did extremely well, I think one of the reasons why, well, you obviously contacted me to talk about that option as far as here he is, he's transitioning, from middle school, he's continued to do well, what are we going to do as far as high school? And I think some of the things that we identified as being difficult for John was transitions, changes in his environment, and having that small, more intensive, small classroom situation where there wasn't a lot of transition within it. And I think that when we looked at Dennis Yarmouth versus any other program, the first thing was the size of the building. I mean, it was just the actual physical environment that was difficult for him. That we said, just him learning to manage it. And at that point in time, I mean, he's obviously come, so far between then and now, but at that point in time, that was a big concern as far as him transitioning. And then looking at the quality of the program, what the children, they weren't children then, I guess, they're teenagers, I guess, when you get to that point. But looking at them, they're always children to me. When you look at them and say, what are they doing? What's the components of the program? Is it, are they able to focus on his academic abilities in the same manner as they can look at some of the more functional things that he needed to learn as well? High school programs are, the special education teacher is teaching to a certain number of kids, and it's not necessarily as individualized as it could be, that he needed that individualized type of program.
And we were given a pretty grim prognosis when he was first diagnosed. And look at what's happened, and I mean, it's clearly...
It still blows my mind.
Right. Well, so what do you think about, like, you would have never said that's a kid with high-functioning autism when he was 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 or 10.
No.
So, I mean, you've been talking about the ingredients that have made that happen with him, but I don't know,
I think there's some part of John that there's an intrinsic desire to learn too, that, has really helped him. I mean, he's been given a lot of support, but he's also used it to his benefit. He learned to understand that what he was learning is intrinsically motivating for him. So it became reinforcing, and so he sought out to learn things that he hadn't been doing before. He learned what he was taught, and then he expanded into that. And I think that's part of his personality. I don't think that anything that any of the team that worked with him took him to that level. I think that was part of him. He decided he wanted to do it. He got the information. He did the studying. So again, a lot of that was about him. He liked to do the things that he learned, and as he learned more, then he just continued to progress. And when he learned language, then he learned how reinforcing it was. So he then used it. There are many individuals that we can say that we can teach the verbal skills, but that desire to communicate with the world is not there. So then language is it's much different. It looks much different. Jon learned that when he spoke, he learned how to interact with the community as far as the environment and people in it, and I think that became reinforcing for him, and for many children that's not reinforcing. But mostly it was the screaming and kicking and riddling out of the chair was a big one. We'd get him to the table and he'd be sitting. It would be, a fight to keep him in it. Really not wanting to do what it was that we were asking him to do, and some of it was pretty simple. But we would do things like, we'd have him come to the table and he'd be kicking and screaming, and we'd ask him to match 2 pictures. And then we'd let him go. And he'd kick and scream, but he'd still match them. And then we let him go, and then he'd come back again. And finally he realized that at first we would allow him to escape as long as he did what we asked him to do, regardless of whether he was crying. And then we added the contingency of you needed to now do it, but also do it quietly. And quietly for him was not necessarily full quiet. It was just that he wasn't in that full-blown screaming. And if he was whiny, we would allow him to escape. But he was a little pistol, so he was. I remember those days, and I remember, you coming out and your sweat pouring off you, because it was just that whole physical aspect of trying to get him to do what you were asking him to do. But he turned around pretty quickly. 6 months doesn't sound like a long time, and even for you guys, it was hard to get him to do things.
Now that we're talking about, that was the hardest part, because
for you to hear that,
yes,
yeah.
And I think it is for parents.
Yeah.
That's the beginning part where they're resisting everything.
Yeah.
And he was just kicking
and
crying.
And I seem to remember that we tried to have you in here at first to see if that would help him transition, and that he just was worse. So then we said we'd have you, leave the room and see if we could have him settle first. But at first I think we tried to have you be here to see if he would be more calm in that situation, because we were obviously strangers, but I recall that not working very well.
But I also just remember that, as a parent, you sit, in the next room or whatever, and think, so this is what we have to do to...
I know.
And who knows if it's going to work, and who knows if we can all live through that.
Yeah, and I think that, for, my experience working with, many little kids, I think that's the make or break situation for parents, is realizing that, this may take some time. I've had, in my experience, I've had parents that have not been able to tolerate it. And therefore, it's not to say that the child doesn't necessarily learn skills. I'm absolutely not saying that, but you were willing to take a step back for a period of time and say, I'm going to let this continue. And then once he got it, he got it. I think initially we did a lot of work directly one-to-one with him, and then we started working, more with the family. And I think sometimes that's important to try to do, because, the person that's really trying to teach you to teach him, or, really needs to get some instructional control of the situation. And I think that's what we kind of transitioned out of, working directly with him, and then you guys got involved with it. He learned that work was actually fun. It wasn't a chore. I've worked with a lot of kids where you kind of go, okay, they tolerate it for the entire time, but once he learned to learn, then he realized, then it was like an absorption thing. Then it was like, okay, you know, this is actually a fun activity versus this is a chore, and when I'm, you know, when I do what I ask her to do, then she'll give me something that I want. And I think that, you know, Jon didn't do that. He started to like the things that we were teaching him for the sake of liking the things we were teaching him.